This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 169.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 169, and today we will be talking about earning an extra paycheck with Airbnb, but without renting your home. This is something completely different, so I hope you enjoy today's episode. You have probably heard of Airbnb, and you know that people rent out their homes or their rooms to travelers from around the world, and they can make extra money by doing so. Some people go as far as making a living doing that by simply acquiring or renting out another property and renting it out on Airbnb for more money than their rent is. All right. In this episode, we will be talking about something completely different. This is called Airbnb Experiences. This is a new thing that Airbnb launched, and it helps tourists who visit a city find something interesting to do, finding a guided tour of sorts. And by hosting an experience, you will be that tour guide working with Airbnb. If you haven't heard of Airbnb Experiences, there are two reasons for it. One of them is you simply don't really use Airbnb much and you don't know what's going on their platform. The second reason might be that Airbnb Experiences are not yet available in your city, but that's about to change because Airbnb is expanding that platform really, really fast, and they're trying to be all around the world with that new experience thing. All right, so how does that work? When you become an Airbnb experience host, you publish your experience on their platform, and whenever someone books that experience, Airbnb takes a 20% commission out of it, and you get the other 80%. I know that 20% commission might sound pretty high for Airbnb to take, but you have to consider something really, really big and important here. You do not need to spend money on marketing. You do not need to know how to do marketing because Airbnb does all the marketing for you, and they put out your experience in front of thousands, if not millions of tourists who are coming to your city, which is really, really awesome. And this is the hardest part in any business. If you want to open any kind of business, marketing and advertising is the most expensive and hardest part of that business. Now, Airbnb does it for you for only 20% of the cost of your tour. So once again, look at it as a positive thing, not a negative one. All right, so when a customer comes on Airbnb website and they type in the city where they want to book a place to stay, Airbnb will automatically show them experiences available in that city. Also, if the person books, Airbnb will try to find them an appropriate experience once again. So they keep showing all these experience listings to tourists and people who are thinking of booking in a specific city or have already booked. Now they can book an experience as well. Out of curiosity, I signed up to Airbnb Experiences and created my own tour in my city. Unfortunately, it is very niche and it seems like it appeals to a very specific audience. And that audience doesn't seem to be interested in booking my tour, which is totally fine. At least I apply it and I have tried to figure out how it works. However, I have very close friends who told me about this experience thing, and they are hosting a tour which seems to be very, very popular in our city. They're averaging about 20 to 30 bookings per week, which ends up earning about $1,000 per week for that tour. And that's for an average of 10 to 15 hours of work per week. So the payout for that experience is anywhere between $60 and $100. In their very specific case, it could be less, it could be more, depending on the cost of the experience and how many people you get booking your experience. But I think $1,000 per week for 10 to 15 hours of work is really, really good payout, considering this is an extra income. For a lot of people, this kind of extra income could actually be the main source of income because it's not a small amount. At this point, we'll talk about creating your own experience in your city and earning money with it. So before you create an experience, you have to look up experiences in popular cities such as New York, San Francisco, and any other popular city in your country or in your region that comes to your mind. It could be other countries as well. So check out the experiences page and look at popular experiences. Pay attention to experiences that have good rankings and that have many reviews. Now, it's important to not copy those experiences, but get inspired by them and create something similar or something in the same industry as the experience that's already exists. Now, I'm telling you to not copy the experiences for many different reasons. First of all, it will be pretty much impossible for you to outrank the same experiences that already exist in that city. And this is because Airbnb ranks experiences based on several aspects. One of them is conversion rate, of course, meaning how many people look at the experience and how many people actually book that experience after looking at it. If you have 5,000 people who have looked at your experience page and not a single person booked, of course, you are going to go down in rankings, and of course, no one is going to book it simply because they can't even find your experience. The creation date matters at all. So original and older experiences have an advantage over brand new experiences. This is another reason why you shouldn't copy an experience that already exists, because you will never be able to become an older experience. They are the original and older experience, so they do have a big advantage. Number of reviews matters as well. As you can imagine, experiences with reviews will most likely get bookings compared to experiences without any reviews. So once again, if you are starting an experience that's completely the same as an existing experience, nobody's gonna book yours because you have no reviews. All right, so once you looked at some of the experiences, you paid attention to the popular ones, and you figured out a similar experience or an experience in the same industry that you think will perform well, you need to actually register it on Airbnb. While going through the process, it's quite simple and straightforward, but it will take some time. You need to input as many details as possible, add appealing photos, and make sure that your experience seems interesting to people. Make sure that your experience brings something different and something unique, so people will be more interested in booking it. If Airbnb experiences are not available in your city, but you're still interested in doing that, you should still get prepared, because as soon as they launch that experience in your city, you will be one of the first people to get in on that. So if you are looking at New York City or once again San Francisco or any other big city, and you found some really great experiences that obviously perform well in those cities, have a lot of reviews, they're ranking well, you can create a very similar experience in your own city if possible, and you could be rather sure that it's going to perform well because it's performing well in established cities already. So you do not need to reinvent the wheel, you should just pay attention to things that are working well already. And once the Airbnb launches experiences in your city, as already mentioned, you will be one of the first people to sign up, so you will be one of the first experiences that people will see and people will book. Now, if you play your cards right, you are a good host or a good guide and you provide people with exactly what they're looking for, you provide them with a nice experience, you provide them with interesting and relevant information, you're being a good host and a tour guide, people will book, people will leave you good reviews, and the more great reviews you have, the more you're going to go up in rankings and the more money you will make eventually. Also, once your experience is launched and live, you have to play with different price points because we don't always know what is the best price and how much people are willing to pay for an experience such as yours. So bring your prices up, bring your prices down, see at which point you get the most bookings. If you brought your prices too high and nobody's booking, bring them a little bit lower. But make sure your prices are not too low, because if you will be offering a 3 to 4 hour tour and imagine only a few people book and you charging them $10 or $20 for the tour, you aren't really making money. You know, you're gonna make $5 an hour, $10 an hour, and if you're making only a few bucks an hour, I don't think that's a good way to earn an extra income, and it simply isn't motivating enough when you're only earning a few dollars an hour. That's not cool. So make sure you play with those prices, make sure everyone's happy with whatever you're charging. Alright, so that's about it for today's episode. It was quite short, but I'm sure it was to the point and I didn't want to fluff it up with irrelevant information. If you have any questions about Airbnb experiences, although I am not an expert on the subject, but I have tried it, I know how to sign up. I've been consuming a lot of information about those experiences. I've been trying to figure out how they rank, what Airbnb wants to see, and what the potential customers wants to see. So if you have any questions on those subjects, please do do not hesitate and get in touch with me. You could head over to extrapodcast.com/169. This is where I'll be putting up a show notes page for today's episode, and you can use the contact form or the comment box on that page to get in touch with me and ask your questions. Also, don't forget to head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes in order to subscribe to the show, as well as extrapodcast.com/Spotify in order to follow the show on Spotify. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.